Hey guys, Arm&Gun here. Today, before we get into that, I want to give you guys a quick flyby of the Galotech wall system. I just reset the wall today, kind of freshened it up, got some different guns on the wall, got things in some different configurations, so really dig that system. Anyways guys, we're going to talk today about setting up a super flexible kind of do-all rifle. Now I've chosen an AR-15, but this can really apply to whether it's an 8K, whatever's basically legal in your country that you can run as a civilian with minimal paperwork, or it's kind of what we're gonna go for your basis here. I want this video to apply to as many people as possible because setting up a rifle smart and like efficiently to do a lot of stuff, it's just a good idea. It's a lot of fun and you're gonna get a lot of value out of your investment. So we're gonna talk not so much about the rifle itself, a little bit about its characteristics and why I chose it. But same thing with the accessories I've got out here as well. I'll run through them all, but more importantly than what they are themselves, it's the attributes they give the rifle. What enhancements they provide that makes it more of a general purpose dual rifle. And again, you can swap those out based on your budget. Like this is not a cheap gun, not cheap accessories, but if you listen to what I'm saying about the characteristics and the advice I'm giving you, you can tailor suit this build to what's available in your area and what your budget is. So a couple caveats here. I'm kind of going with the default of US gun laws. We're going to avoid talking about any pistol builds, no pistol braces, and no AOWs, no SBRs, because SBRs are more paperwork and we're not going to go there. So this one does have less than a 16-inch barrel, but it's still a rifle because it has a permanently pin and welded muzzle device. And why I'd recommend that? You could go with a 16-inch rifle, but to be general purpose do all, I think an AR-15 with a 5.56 or 223 cartridge is plenty efficient. You get plenty of velocity out of a 13.9-inch barrel for 95% of the shots you're gonna need to take. Again, this is gonna depend on your situation, but I think this makes sense, at least for me. Now, I also think suppressors are a super important part of a firearm, and they're becoming more and more mainstream for a good reason. So setting up your dual rifle to be a suppressor host is a good idea as well. So if you're gonna go the pin and weld route, you might wanna spend some time thinking about that muzzle device because that will dictate what kind of suppressor you can pair with it. Now, if you got a bunch of cans, it might not matter, but if you've only got one, that's gonna matter. And if you really wanna dial in your setup for suppressors, check out Jay at Pew Science. Quick shout out to him, doing some really cool stuff. I didn't realize what kind of a difference your muzzle device made itself, whether this is an open tine flash hider or the War Comp or the Surefire 2-chamber brake, which all work as suppressor hosts for a Surefire suppressor. It's pretty wild the difference they can make depending on which one you use. So quick shout out to him if you want to learn about that. I just want to pass on that resource. So again, for me, keep the barrel as short as possible within your laws and within what makes sense. And if you can get away with it, don't just run a 4-inch barrel. Like, make it make sense. This is going to be super effective out to 300-400 yards, no problem. You're also going to want it nice and streamlined, as light as possible, like within reason. If it can fold, even better. Now, the one thing I just realized I forgot is a law folder, which would be awesome in here. A law tactical folder, just to get that way you can, you don't run an AR-15 with the folding stock, but if you can get the rifle size down any more than it already is, that's always a good thing. It just makes it more transportable, more compact. You can throw it in a car bag, a lot more easy that way. So, and besides a short, tidy package, you just want to keep it light as well. Don't throw a bunch of crap on there that you don't need. I've got a pretty streamlined system out here. Everything that's here is going to be used on the gun. So there's no fluff. And you've got mlok. You can always throw stuff on if you need it for something specific. But again, as a basic do-all premise, this is going to work for you. So for kit today, we obviously want a flashlight. We've already talked about getting a suppressor on there. We need an optic. Notice there's no irons on here, and that is for a good reason. We also have a little index point for your hand, nice lightweight as well, and that'll be partially to control the gun as well as to get a nice index point for running your flashlight. And some goodies from Radian, but to be honest, that's a bit of a moot point with this build because the ADM comes with Radian from the factory. Though I would recommend if you've got another budget AR, whatever, spend the money, get a Radian Raptor charging handle and the Talon safeties. They are such a great way to upgrade your gun for little money, and they're the controls, the parts you use the most. So highly recommend that. Alrighty, let's jump into this. So first things first, we're clear. Guys, this is a beautiful rifle. If you want to learn more about this rifle, I have a whole video discussing the features and specs of it. It's got the Radian Raptor charging handles in it. The Talon safeties. It's got a nice Geissele trigger. AMBI controls, whether you're a mag release or bolt catch and release. Just super nice appointments throughout, and that's kind of why I grabbed it as the basis for this rifle. It's just a really nice rifle. Criterion barrel, nice smooth mlok handguard. It's just a great setup from the start. Even the nice Magpul furniture. Now, I would like, honestly, the stock is fine. It's lightweight, unless I threw a B5 stop mod stock in there, which is probably the only thing I would consider swapping this out with. And then the grip, MOE, it's good. My go-to favorite is going to be the Ergo Deluxe grip, no beaver tail, but I've also got some Reptilia grips coming in. I'm going to try those things out as well. But for today, I'm all out of spares, so we're going to stick with factory on this guy. Now, first things first, I'm going to swap out my rail. Again, I talked about the reason for that in my main video, but let's get building this thing. Guys, when selecting a rail, I actually really like the ADM rail because it is smooth on almost all the sides. I don't like 1913 rail on the bottom. I like to be able to have a nice smooth grip there. Honestly, I almost never throw anything on the bottom except for a grip or a hand stop. And now they're all just about come in mlok direct versions, so that's fine. You don't need to complicate it with pick rail down there. The top, I mean, either I like that milled off as well. They've at least compensated by doing all these pretty solid lightning cuts in there. These again as well on the kind of half positions between the 3, 6, and 9. Those are just lightning cuts, not mlok, and for me that's fine. This allows plenty of different surfaces now, mini mounts for accessories such as a Surefire. They're adjustable anyways. You can pivot them so you can get them nice and tucked in tight, so it doesn't really matter if you can't mount right there, for example. More is better, but you do save weight going with these lightning cuts versus mlok. Mlok profile is thicker, just the way it clamps, and so you end up with a heavier rail if it's got mlok everywhere. So nice, light, slim. This one's really smooth and deburred nicely everywhere. Not a cheese grater, which is actually really, really nice. All right, guys, quick PSA. If you haven't seen a gun kind of field strip like this before, an AR-15, this is a DI, direct impingement, and that basically means that as the bullet is traveling down the barrel, once it passes the gas block, that pressure behind the bullet is bled up into the gas block through the gas tube, and that is what sends the action back and forth, which ejects and then chambers a new round. Here's your barrel nut. That's what clamps the barrel to the receiver. Cool stuff. All right, so we got the handguard back installed, and now I got a shorter one on here, so the locking shoulder is accessible on my muzzle device, and I can now run a can or other muzzle device. All right, guys, next up and most important on the table is going to be your sighting solution. So for a general purpose do-all build, keep it simple. Go with a red dot sight and a magnifier. That's optional, swivel out of the way, whatever. Or a low power variable optic or an L-can, because just go with an L-can. It's the best. You're going to love it. You're going to cry when you buy it, but frick, these things are so bloody cool. I love them. Guys rag on these things for being heavy, but A, you can probably chuck this thing on a plane and it's going to be fine. Also, it has a built-in mount, so you don't have to add a mount to your overall package. So when you're considering this against an LPVO, consider the fact that it's an LPVO plus a mount relative to this sucker right here. You do have built-in irons, which are very, very last resort. You can also run a saddle mount on here to run a little RMR or something like that too, but they kick ass. Irons, you can probably just leave them on the table because keep your build streamlined, keep it simple and efficient. You guys, you don't need them. You don't need them. Yes, that is what we're talking about. Okay, next up, got some goodies from Radian. Now, again, if your gun doesn't already have Radian kit, highly recommend it. I throw this in all my guns wherever I can, except for my HK417s, because Radian doesn't make a charging handle for them yet. Sign my petition. But yeah, these are fine. I was thinking about swapping them out for like an MP3 coated stuff, but everything else has a black appointment, so I'm just gonna leave it the way it is because I think it's pretty darn sexy. Next up, a light. Get yourself a flashlight solution so this thing doesn't become just a daytime rig. You want to run this thing daytime or night. For my light, I'm going with the Surefire Scout 600. I've swapped out the clicky cap with a dual purpose one so that I can run a tape switch in there. So just go ahead and screw that thing on. Now, you could probably save a little bit of weight and go with the mini unit instead of the full size. Go with the 300. I do like the full size though because I can run their dual fuel battery, which is a lot of power, a lot of life, and it's rechargeable, which is awesome. So anyways, we're gonna mlok this sucker onto the rail, tuck it in as tight as possible, and then we're gonna add our tape switch and our grip for an indexing point. Okay, so this is mounted really far forward, and I would caution against mounting it in front of the muzzle device when you have something like here that compensates or that's a brake. It's gonna throw a lot of hot gas right at the side, and it's gonna damage the finish. Now, it's not gonna damage the light. I'm sure Surefire can take it, but that is one consideration. I'm running it this far forward so that I can run either a blast deflector on here. That's gonna protect your light. Again, you want your light as far forward as possible so you're not gonna obstruct the path of the light. That way you don't have any shadows or anything like that. You just get your full benefit of your light. So you can either run this on there or the full size can. But that's looking pretty sweet. I can actually tuck this in a little bit tighter here before I tighten it up and close that gap a little bit more. Oh yeah, that's beautiful. Beautiful. And I can still remove my suppressor. Awesome. All right, guys, so next up, I'm going to extend the stock a little bit just so that it's kind of my comfortable go-to spot, and then see where I'm going to naturally want to grab this thing, because I'm going to want to set up my grip with my index point so that I can basically run the tape switch for the light right up here. So this is feeling pretty good. I'm going to want my tape switch kind of right about in there, and I'm going to want my grip basically kind of right, probably saddling that slot right there. All right, so I got a little hook stop by Aeroknox on there. Nice spot right there, and that's actually gonna be perfect. So now we'll take our tape switch and we'll plug that in to our light. So basically the way this light works now is it's got a clicky cap right now, but it's only clicky on or clicky off. Running the tape switch means you can now move the on-off portion to a more convenient spot on the rail, and you can also add the ability to run momentary lights as opposed to just on or off. So I'll get my cable tucked in there, run this up. That's probably perfect right there. Snug this in, push this down, and guys, we're good to go. So we've got momentary and then clicky on, clicky off. This thing is awesome. And it's super efficient, it's lightweight. Guys, I'm digging this build. Last but not least, got a fresh Lancer mag from Big Daddy Unlimited. There's a link in the description below if you guys want to sign up for Big Daddy Unlimited. It would be awesome. I'm pretty new to their system, but I'm digging it so far. Guys, this is a sweet, sweet build. Really liking it. If you want to see this gun being shot, I'll have a range video pretty soon. I'm digging it. Anyways, thanks a ton, guys. I'll catch you on the next one. Arm&Gun out.